I knew what love was. I felt it obviously through my children, obviously through my mother, but like the women in my life, couldn't have attachment to it, which is why I did all the fucked up shit that I did. The people in my life who were in my crime organization, I couldn't get attached to them. As much as I knew how good some of them were, if they broke the law, if they broke the code, I would have to get physical with them. And sometimes it would fucking hurt me, and I had to almost become emotionless to do the things that I had to do. All right, this is going to be an interesting one. What being a gangster taught me about love. Being a gangster, you couldn't attach yourself to anything emotionally, because if that was taken away from you or you were taken away from it, right, it will fucking break you. So I didn't know how to love, right? I did not want to attach myself to anybody, with the exception of my kids. And how being a gangster taught me how to love was, like I said in the last video, doing the complete opposite of it. Not getting deeply emotionally involved in nothing. You understand? Attached to nothing. Not my relationships, not my people. All right. There was a level of loyalty. There was a level of care, all right, for the people in my life. And it's crazy because I lived the best of both worlds. Right? If there's any such thing as an ethical gangster with morals, it was me. Because I didn't want the people, the elderly people in my neighborhood, being caught in the crosshairs, nor women, nor children. So I did care, but I almost constrained myself from caring too much, from not being attached to it, right? Because when shit got dirty, when shit got bad, when shit got real heavy, I couldn't attach an emotion to it, right? I remember there was this one instant where, and not to get too specific, but there was this one instant where there was someone who was close to me living this life who had a dad, right, and was also a drug addict. And me and this kid grew up together. We grew up doing the most innocent, purest thing, right? Long story short, the guy's mom cheated on his dad. Dad turned into a drug addict, took his son along with him. He became a drug addict. I became a drug dealer. He became a client of mine. He ended up doing dirt to me, so him and his dad felt the repercussions of it. Again, this was someone who I looked up to as a child, right? And, I'm not sure if he was in drugs back then, but he damn sure played a very good father role in my life. But what drugs would do to somebody, fuck. And then I had no excuse, because what being a criminal and being a dope peddler will do to somebody, that's just pulling you two different directions. So because of that life, because of all the elements that drugs and crime and everything comes with, that put a huge wedge between us, right? And unfortunately, his dad, being the culprit of the catalyst of why he became such a piece of shit person, he also got involved as well, So I couldn't get attached to that. Imagine if I was to think like, damn, you know what? I feel bad now because this guy raised me. But against the code, doesn't matter, who this person may be to you, you have to play the position that you have to play to handle it by all means. And I had to do that. I had to fucking do that. And there was more than one instant. Now, again, I didn't get elderly women or children. I never, ever got a woman or a child involved, right? Elderly, there wasn't innocent people. I was what you would consider, it's a fucking guy, they call him the kryptonite, or the guy that came out when the bad guys were out. Right? I didn't come out to, hurt people, living in society. I came out when the bad guys were in town, and I had to control, the violence or the drug trade or doing all this other shit. And I still remember my conscience pulling me in different directions, man. Like, damn, fucking care about this person. Now I really love this person. Damn, this person has potential. Fuck, if we were doing this in the complete, like, paradigm opposite of a business, of a world, me and this person would be air fucking tight. But I couldn't attach myself to that person for that. I still remember me bringing in very close people into my organization that I knew when that happened, what we had, it was obsolete, right? The friendship that we had created, and there's people in my life who are still in my life who didn't join my organization, who were still airtight. And I think that's just because of that, right? And unfortunately, the people that did or the people that tried, I no longer talk to them, right? As far as coming up under me, there is people from my past life who I talk to. There's actually people who I'm helping inside my coaching program, mentoring them through the transition, like I had to mentor myself. So what being a gangster taught me about love, man, was doing the complete opposite. Guys, watch this last video. It all makes sense. The video right before this of how being a criminal taught me about business, right? Doing the complete opposite, right? And being a gangster taught me about love because I knew what love was. I had to know what love was in order to do the complete opposite. You couldn't be oblivious to something that you know you were trying to avoid, right? So I knew what love was. I felt it obviously through my children, obviously through my mother, but like the women in my life, I couldn't have attachment to them, which is why I did all the fucked up shit that I did, right? The people in my life who were in my crime organization, I couldn't get attached to them. As much as I knew how good some of them were, if they broke the law, if they broke the code, I would have to get physical with them. And sometimes it would fucking hurt me. And I had to almost become emotionless to do the things that I had to do. So I would do a lot of introspection back then. I remember normally when I would drive away from an incident like that, I would think about what I just did, and I would almost, by myself get vulnerable. In my own mind, I would start to think about the shit that I was doing, and it will pull me in two different directions. So tell me, Eddie, you could do better. Eddie, this is not the person you're destined to be. But I was pushing, man. Resistance against resistance. I was pushing. I was dancing with the fucking devil. I made the devil my bitch. The devil wasn't playing puppet with me. I made the devil the pretty little girl in the red dress, which I got tattooed on the back of my leg, right? I was scarier than the devil in my eyes. I was a skeleton. I envisioned myself as a skeleton in a tuxedo and me dancing with the red dress woman with horns, pretty woman, right? Basically trying to keep me, basically trying to persuade me into this life. But I was leading the dance, and I would always see like this very dark figure, like this innocent little girl, which when I say little, I don't mean like young, I mean like very pure and innocent looking, right? In the corner with a very dim light hovering over her, and you can tell she was just waiting for her dance. And that's why I have now taken by the arm and I'm dancing with. Right? And that was my higher conscious. That was me dancing with the woman that's with the life, right? An analogy, metaphor terms, with the life that I now enjoy, with the life that I now love, with the pureness, not with the deceitfulness, not with the persuading and manipulated, version of my lower conscious. But I knew what love was, man, and I always tried to avoid it, so I never got deep into it. And finally, when I let that old part of me go, I started to explore it, and I love deep. But I love deep. I love unconditionally, but I trust conditionally.